How's it going? Tucker Cooper here, and this is my final portfolio project for my continuity of operations plan um, for business continuity and crisis management. I chose to go with a continuity of operations plan over a BCP. I actually started with a BCP and then didn't really like the template that I was using and ended up switching probably about, I wasn't even maybe a quarter of the way done. Swapped everything over to this continuity of operations plan that was one of the templates in our course material, and I like this template a lot more. So that's why I chose to go with it. This template is the Federal Emergency Management, the FEMA template that was in the course material. Basically, I have 25 slides. I'm going to run you through with some tables and stuff like that. Basically, just going to run you through my project and how I went about getting my information and everything like that. Going to be talking a little bit about Seattle Fire Department because obviously you can see that I did my continuity operations plan for the Seattle Fire Department. I'm originally from the Seattle area, so I wanted to choose a company that was kind of close, or a business or company that was close to home. Originally, it was down to two. I was going to choose either a organization that I used to work for, which was a small farm in my hometown of Snohomish, or Seattle Fire Department. I ended up choosing Seattle Fire Department just because there's a lot of readily available material on them online because they are a public organization. So, and it would have been pretty difficult doing the farm that I used to work on because they really didn't have any business continuity plans. I don't per se. I mean, the town that I lived in flooded every couple of years, so a lot of the crops and everything got ruined. So it wasn't. It probably wouldn't have been the greatest to do it on. And I like Seattle Fire Department, so I think it'd be cool. I thought it was cool to do one on them and learn a little bit more about the department that I kind of grew up around. So here's my table of contents. So before I even really dive into it, right off the bat, I went through this template, this COOP template, and it says right in the guidance instructions that this COOP template is according to the Department of Homeland Security headquarters continuity of operations guidance document. It's dated April of 2004, so it's a little outdated, I would say. I bet you they have definitely an updated version of it, but this one that was in the course material, it looked fairly decent, so I decided to go with it and kind of tailor it to Seattle Fire Department. So right off the bat, um, I a little bit about how I got my information. I guess I didn't quite go over that in the first slide. I got it by going over the emergency operations plan of the city of Seattle. Although they are different, the emergency operations plan, business continuity plan, fairly different things. Actually, very different things. It had a lot of good information in it that I was able to. I made a lot of assumptions on my own business continuity plan before I even dove into the emergency operations plan of Seattle, and then I was able to kind of like go over a lot of their stuff and criteria and kind of back up a lot of my assumptions. So it made it a little bit better, a little bit more comprehensive, I would say. I also was able to obtain a lot of my information from a member of the Seattle Fire Department. He's a family friend of mine. My parents have known him for years. Uh, he is an engineer with the Seattle Fire Department currently. He's been working there for over 16 years. So not the highest ranking official, but he's been like I said, he's been with the department for 16 years, so he knew a lot of the background material that I quite really didn't, because unless you're really a part of the department, um, you don't really know quite a bit. I mean, still there are a lot of public information on the department. It was readily available to find a lot of the information online, and it was easy to find all of that. Kind of hard to like decipher through it quite, but I was able to kind of ask him questions the last couple of weeks. I've been going back and forth, sending him this COOP plan, and he's been kind of revising it and whatnot, and telling me what to change and what to a little bit of what to add. So he helped me quite a bit in this plan, which was nice to have somebody that you knew. And on top of that, I also used the Port of Seattle continuity plan, which isn't really. I actually stole their logo. You can see at the top right of my paper there. Um, I thought it made it look pretty cool, but I, I I went through their continuity of operations preparedness. It was basically a guide, more of a plan, and it gave guidance for any organization or company business within the city limits, and kind of gave them. It was kind of like the Anchorage business continuity plan that we had in previous lessons. That basically just gave the occupants and the businesses of Anchorage a basic guidance plan of how to make their own business continuity plan and how to maintain their assets and employees and all that kind of stuff and maintain essential functions per se. And that's basically what the Port of Seattle one did for me as well. And I was able to kind of utilize some of the information on that and go over a lot of their hazards and stuff like that. And like I said about the EOP, made a lot of assumptions and then got to go back into their basic guidelines and back up a lot of the assumptions that I was able to make. So starting out in my project, uh, started out with an executive summary like most continuity plans, and basically my executive summary just goes over briefly an outline of the organization. So Seattle Fire, they've been an organization since 1984 or 1989, excuse me. Originally it started with 5 stations, and now they're at 33 stations. I think they're building a 34th, from what I hear. So pretty big department now. Obviously one of the more well-known ones on the West Coast. And my executive summary kind of goes over what the key elements of the COOP plan are going to be and how we're going to go about changing it. So we're straight into the introduction. It explains the importance of my COOP plan and the planning for my organization, Seattle Fire Department. It discusses a little bit about the planning and references of my documents and the importance of my COOP plan for my organization. Moving right along to the purpose. Uh, Basically, the purpose for my COOP plan uh, explains the importance of the need for a business continuity plan for the Seattle Fire Department. I'm sure they already had one. I couldn't I couldn't find it online. That was one document that I couldn't find, but it was fine because I was able to kind of like formulate a lot of their other documents, their emergency operations planning guides and stuff like that, and use those because I mean Seattle's an interesting department to do it on, mainly or organization or business to do it on mainly per se because during a crisis or disaster. Seattle Fire Department is actually going to keep responding. Their essential functions need to continue to happen, and people are always going to be calling 911 during a disaster, and they're always going to need to be responding to these type of events. So it's going to be very difficult if Seattle Fire Department could not maintain essential functions and personnel to be coming into work after a crisis or disaster. So an interesting, just like police, fire department, these are very essential operations of any community that need to keep maintaining in order to maintain peace with the people and try and help the community during these times of disasters. So this was kind of an interesting public service department to do it on. It would have been interesting to do it on a police department as well, just because these essential functions need to happen rather than if you worked for a different company that really didn't need to have essential functions running, maybe for the first couple of days, and then afterwards they'd start losing money and stuff like that. Seattle Fire Department needs to continually have these essential functions running throughout the entire crisis or disaster, so they need to be very well prepared. And moving right along, the applicability and scope basically just describes the plan of Seattle Fire Department as a whole. I kind of go into a little bit of natural hazards for the disaster. Um, I grew up in the area, so I knew a lot of these had happened in the past, and I sourced out a couple of different events that have happened over the last years, like earthquakes. Major earthquakes have happened. Major landslides. the Oso landslide at least wasn't in Seattle, but near the Seattle area, and landslides are very common in the Pacific Northwest. You know, stuff like social unrest and riots during the World Trade Organization, and these are types of events that could hinder essential functions, and the Seattle Fire Department would need to be ready for these events just in case they were to happen. Like I said, I've been talking about essential functions a little bit. I came up with 4 essential functions originally, but really two are the first two are the only ones that I see that are mattering to the public. Emergency medical care and fire response. Those are high priority rating essential functions that need to keep happening during a crisis. Without emergency medical care, there's only been a few instances during like Hurricane Katrina where fire departments have just straight up said, hey, we will not be responding to these events because the chief ended up saying that of the New Orleans Fire Department, because he said, hey, we're not responding to any more calls because his guys were getting injured and it was too dangerous for his men to go out, even though as a fire department they need to respond to these emergencies and help the public, but it would have hindered, it would have been bad for the department to essentially maybe start killing their employees on accident by sending them to these calls, and bad things could happen. Then you'd just be knocking down essential employees that you would need after the disaster, so you can start mitigating. So there's only been, like I said, a few instances of that happening during natural disasters, mostly during hurricanes. A few of these are straight from one of our assignments that we did a few weeks back. I was able to formulate, some of the tables and the essential functions of emergency medical care and the impact over the time that it would take. Here's another one for fire response. And the 2 low priority rating ones like public education and events and CPR classes. So my authorities and references are going to be in the back of Annex A. We'll be going over that a little bit. But the activation and reallocation, which is the phase 2 or phase 1 of my plan. But basically, the Seattle Fire Chief is going to have full authority during any kind of disaster or crisis. Like I said about New Orleans Fire Department, the fire chief was able to call in a natural disaster and be like, hey, my guys are not responding anymore. It would be, it would be absolutely terrible. So the Seattle Fire Chief is able to initiate this continuity of operations plan, or this COOP, and be able to utilize all the resources in it and start chipping away. Here are all the facilities. I was able to list all of them. They're all readily available online, and there's a lot of them. Like I said, there's 33 stations, and they have a lot of apparatus all over town. I mean, you can't drive anywhere around Seattle without seeing a fire station for a little while. All right, reconstruction. Or I guess I could go straight into activation and relocation. So the relocation, kind of like I just went over, the activation of the plan is in the sole chief's responsibility. He's the only one, I wouldn't say the only one, but he mainly is the guy that is going to initiate this business continuity plan, and the relocation is going to happen at any of those fire stations, mainly the headquarters. But if the Seattle Fire Department headquarters is not available at the time, it can be the base of operations, I guess, out of wherever they would need to maintain essential functions. Could be from any of these stations. They're all linked together in the same network. All of their servers are backed up at the headquarters at Seattle Fire. That's their first location, and then a second undisclosed location somewhere within the city. I'm guessing Town Hall per se, but that is what is going to be needed for the relocation during a crisis or disaster. The decision process, like I went over before, the Seattle Fire Chief is going to have